What's going on, class? We're going to talk about Chapter 14, Developmental Theories today, Dog Edition. This is Jazz. She's old and blind and deaf, but she had a good run, so that's what's important. We're going to talk just about a couple of key concepts today that have to deal with Chapter 14, so hopefully this stuff helps you out. I'm looking down at the computer just so I can take a look at some of my notes. Couple of things to touch on. First, developmental theories deal with criminal behavior across the life course. This is criminological speak for something that happens across time. Most of the theories that we've talked about so far this semester deal with criminal behavior longitudinally, which means we're taking a look at it at one point in time. So if we look at something like general strain theory, what we're interested in is, does someone feel negative affective states at a certain point in time when they experience the loss of a positive stimulus in their life? So we're curious about what's going on right then at that moment in time. Developmental theories have said what we should be doing is we should be taking a look at how strain interacts with people across time. So maybe you feel certain negative affective states more acutely when you're in your adolescent years, and then you feel it a little bit less when you're in your later years. How does strain interact with someone in their 60s compared to someone in their 30s compared to someone in their teens? So they're interested in that development of one's interaction with potentially criminogenic stimuli. So that's one of the main takeaways from this particular chapter, is trying to understand that the development of these theories across life. Now, if you look at criminological literature over the last couple of decades, there's almost no research that looks at things longitudinally anymore. Everything happens across a period of time. There's not a logical reason for trying to examine crime at one point in time and then making generalizations from that. So developmental theories have changed criminology on its face. Just about everything now, again, looks at how things change over time, if you were to look at the literature now. The other thing that I wanted to touch on real quickly in this video was interactional theory. This is a really interesting theory because it's going to help us kind of understand a couple of things that we'll talk about over the next few weeks. It is an integrated theory because it's integrating concepts from social learning theory and social control theory. And it's a pretty simple integrated theory, so this one's going to serve as an example for integrated theories that we'll talk about in a chapter or two. But it also provides a really good example of development, again, over time. The best example that I can think of for interactional theory, which is, again, kind of combining social learning and social control theories, is the movie Mean Girls. And if you haven't seen Mean Girls, why? It's a phenomenal movie. But it's this example of someone's bonds changing over time and then them learning things from the people that they're bonded to. So when we're young, we tend to bond most closely with our parents. We tend to learn from them. We learn their habits and their behaviors. And then as we progress into our adolescent years, we change who we're bonded to. We start to bond to peer groups a little bit more closely. And when we do that, the definitions we accept and the behaviors that we emulate, those change as well because of who we're bonded to. So this theory kind of combines who we're bonded to at what points in time in our lives, and then what we learn from those people at different stages of our lives. And it can, according to interactional theorists, help us understand how age and crime are correlated. When you're young, you tend not to behave criminally very much, because you're bonded to pro-social people and your parents, and they teach you good behaviors. In those periods of time where delinquent and criminal behavior go up, between the ages of 16 and 24, you bond more closely to peers and to delinquent others, and you learn behaviors from them. And then when you hit 24, you start to bond again with who will be your family unit later on, or people that have aged out of that type of behavior. And once you start bonding with your spouse or your partner, once you start bonding with your children, rates of crime start to dip again. So hopefully that helps explain a couple of those concepts, and we'll post another video here in a minute.